Hi friends! If you click to check out the Koyudo Premium Collection, demos using them, and my thoughts, then please keep on watching. Hi, I'm Alicia. If it's your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on my video. And if you are returning, well, thank you for visiting me again. Kinkysweat stands for my kinky hair and sweat life. I'm a fitness professional who loves things all movement and beauty. If you want to check out what I do in between the makeups, you can head over to my Instagram. A huge thank you to Fude Beauty again. This by no means is a sponsored video. They are just so generous to collaborate with me in presenting a lot of their brushes from what they offer on their retail site. My first video was talking about the various powder brushes that they offer. The second video focused on cheek brushes, from the inexpensive to the expensive to the synthetic to the natural. And this video we wanted to focus primarily on the premium collection from Koyudo. I find this to be so unique because look how cute they look. They have the shorter handle, and I mean, I have small hands, and look how small this brush is. So I was very much fascinated by the line, and again, Fude was very kind to send me the collection. They had already sent me the P02 for the cheek video, so they sent me the rest, and we're just gonna talk about what they do, what they're good for, because I always like to preface these types of videos, fam, for you to know that every time I speak about brushes or any makeup item for that matter, I just like to think of this as like the digital parlor, where you just come in, you look, you try on, you think about it, and you walk away not necessarily with something that you bought, but just with an impression, right? So they thought, why don't we talk about Koyudo, which I actually thought a good idea, because this is a brand that I found out from Fude Beauty as I was very much heavily into Chikuhodo. I have a bunch of Chikuhodo brushes now. In addition to that, I also wanted to talk about their members program, that with every 100 points you get $1. And I know that's not a whole lot, but keep in mind that Fude Beauty is a smaller brand, so they don't have the same type of reward programs like a bigger retailer does. Various ways you could acquire points is just by making an account on fudebeauty.com, leaving a review, and they have requirements for the reviews, so no one just goes on there and be like, I love this brush, where's my 250 points? You have to describe the brush that you bought, what your expectations were, what do you think about it, your customer service experience. So if you're able to provide that detailed feedback, then you'll be issued some points there. And of course, every time you purchase something, all those points get saved and they never expire. And that also leads me to the next point of the high shipping. Because EMS is no longer shipping because of our current challenging times, they only have their express shipping option, which is why it's so expensive for international shipping. If you have been buying from Fude and you happen to acquire enough points, that could possibly cover the shipping costs. Just an idea. And I also wanted to ask the reason why they're able to keep their prices relatively low in comparison to other retailers. Since they are in Japan and the brushes come directly from Japan, they don't have to include the import tax on the price, and they try to keep it consistent throughout the entire year. That's why they don't have any major sales, and they just want to make sure that it's leveled in terms of pricing long term, so you don't feel bad about missing out on a huge sale. Because the brushes are already set low at that price, then it doesn't warrant a big discount event. And also, as a smaller brand, they just can't afford to have those types of discounts like you see other big retailers have. And with that said, new customers can use Kinkysweat 5 for $5 off. You're like, Alicia, $5? One brush costs $200. I know, fam, and they realize that $5 might not be a lot, but they offered me the coupon code, and I'm very grateful for that. And of course, all my links are affiliated ones, so every time you purchase something from fudebeauty.com, I get a commission, and you guys have supported me so heavily and generously for the past few months when you're buying from that site, and I really appreciate your support. If you're totally not comfortable doing that, you're like, Alicia, I don't like you, I'm just gonna go to the website. I get it, friend, I get it. I just wanted to give you those details so we could go into these brushes and see what we think of them. I know, outfit change. Very unpredictable here on this channel. Let's go over the collection detail, shall we? Koyudo's premium series is made of the finest gray squirrel and xoxo goat hair, created using Koyudo's unique shifting technology. It's a line that could only be produced by our company's advanced technology, which has been cultivated over our history of crafting calligraphy brushes as well as makeup brushes. In terms of what shifting technology is, and a huge thank you to Jessie for providing this translation, it refers to Koyudo's constant pursuit for improvement, honoring and respecting traditions developed by artisans over hundreds of years and building on these for modern users. So they're constantly honoring the legacy of brush making, but they realize that the market is constantly changing, consumers change their expectations, but they try to find that balance and meet in the middle while presenting a traditional craft but still delivering performance in their makeup tools. The black and white color of the premium series gives a sophisticated image, with the short shaft making it easy to hold and ideal for travel. The bristles are designed with an ideal balance of softness and elasticity in mind. Gray squirrel is extremely soft and goat hair is moderately firm. The handle is made of sakura cherry tree wood. xoxo goat hair is not as soft as saikoho goat hair, but still soft nonetheless, so it's not like you're going to get a rough brush. And typically I really do appreciate brushes that combine both the gray squirrel and the goat hair, because you get best of both worlds. Goat hair has that great product pickup and the squirrel has that smooth silky blend on the skin. You get that great product pickup from the goat hair, but a silky smooth blend from the squirrel hair. And I just can't get over just the size. The size is so unique, and if you want to see both the powder and cheek brush together, the cheek brush is significantly smaller, but I think it covers a wide variety of tasks. Barrel is oval, and you could detect that oval shape here in the brush head design. It's slightly domed, not completely flat, but doesn't come to a point either. And the fan brush is quite unique. The bristles are very long, but it's so soft, so you could actually use this to apply your loose powder, highlight of course, maybe a nice wash of blush on the cheeks. And you have the eyeshadow brushes that, much like the powder ones, you have the similar shape design in terms of the brush head, but they just differ in size. So this one is slightly bigger and this one is slightly smaller. I thought we will start with the powder brush. This one retails for $150. It's very expensive. You're like, but the short handle, Alicia, what am I paying for? You're paying for all these bristles, fam. Like, it is a lot of bristle. Look at that. It's so beautiful and just so soft. So I thought while going through each brush, we could kind of demo them on the spot. You know, the limitations you encounter with using a brush with gray, squirrel, and goat hair is that they usually are meant to be used with powders only and not creams and liquids. So if you want to use a liquid or cream foundation, then I would say go in with your synthetic brush or go in with an undyed goat hair brush to apply that product. If you like to use your fingers, then use your fingers. I thought, let's put this powder brush to the test and apply a powder foundation. Going in with my Shiseido Synchro Skin Self-Refreshing powder foundation in Oak. And why don't you come a little closer? That's enough. Because if you do apply powder foundation, then this brush should be perfect. Either the P01 or the P02, and we'll get into the P02 in a minute. Let's get into this powder foundation. You get a quite bit of pickup. I'm just gonna buff that into the skin. This brush is incredibly soft. Look how it glides. It's just amazing. And I like the shorter handle because it lends a little more control. Now, although I understand not ideal if you're working on a client, you want to be far from the face. So these are not typically, I think, designed with the pro in mind. That's where the longer handles come in, like the Chikuhodo GSN series. But this one I think is more intended for personal use. You know, I don't have to apply this much of the powder foundation, but I just love this. Is so, like, I don't know if you can tell, just look how it moves on the skin. The glide is amazing. It feels plush. It actually reminds me of my Chikuhodo Fox series brushes. Those brushes are really special because Fox hair, I think, just has such a plushy feel to the bristle and overall feel to the brush. So if you have hyperpigmentation like I do and you want a little more coverage, then that's when you'll go in with your concealer. And if you were just left with this brush set, if you didn't have any other brushes on hand, I would be sure to use a concealer that you could apply with your fingers. So I'm taking my Shiseido gel stick. This is in 302, and I find this formula to be very emollient but still have medium coverage that I could easily just use my fingers to apply it with. And what I like to do is mix 302 with 304. 304 is a little warm, so I want it to appear balanced when I apply this on the portions that need a little more coverage. I take that concoction from the back of my hand and I just lightly tap over the portions that need a little bit of that camouflage. So if you feel you need a brush set that's a little more comprehensive in terms of including a brush that you could use with creams or liquids, then this one might not be for you. But if you primarily use powder products, then this will be perfect. I don't think that's half bad. And my skin looks pretty good. I think that brush just beautifully buffed in the powder foundation. Now, if we were to quickly move into P02, this is the cheek brush and it has a smaller brush head. This retails for $76. I adore this brush just because of its multitasking. Not only could you use this one brush to apply your powder foundation like we did here, but because it's smaller, you could pick up a little more product and just buff it into the areas that you need more coverage on. Now, let's say you wanted to apply some bronzer. Well, you can use this brush for bronzer. If we were to pick up, this is just from the Hourglass Sculpture Holiday. This brush might not be ideal for this pan size because it's bigger than than the pan. I like the shape because look, we just get it right here, not on top. We get it at the edge of the brush and just nudge it into the hollows of the cheek. And that's perfect placement. Look at that. It didn't spread out too much because we placed it right here. We had really great control with how the product blended on the skin. Amazing. If you wanted to take a look though, this brush is a more appropriate size for this pan size. So we could pick up a little more product on this one. And then we could use the top of the brush because it's smaller and just nudge it here in the hollows of the cheeks. And that's great placement as well. Well, depending on the brush head and the brush size will determine your technique, but this one is also incredibly soft. And this one has a little more pushback than the powder brush. You can see there's a little more flow here. This one's a little more tightly packed, or because rather it's just a smaller brush head, it's gonna feel that it doesn't cover as much surface area as the P01. But this is a phenomenally sized brush because again, as you'll see, you can successfully apply your bronzer. And while on the topic, let's put some right here on the forehead. I'm actually going to use the fan brush. Take this color and then just hit the sides of the nose. Beautiful. Just enough, just enough. I mean, very light coloring here on the crease, but this fan brush is really, it's like what you're like, what's the point, Alicia? While we're on this fan brush, why don't I give you the price? This brush is $44. You're like, $44 for a fan brush? Remember, Grace Girl and Goat blend is very lightweight, but let me hold on. Let's say I wanted to apply something real punchy. So I would take a brush like this that's not going to pick up as much product as like the P02 and then just kind of whisk it on, and then I have a little more control of the color. So this is a great brush to use with a color like Vivid Azalea from Wayne's blush and highlighter duos. But look how that beautifully buffs the color into the skin. Of course, I brought it too low. But that's a great way to apply a very pigmented blush. You're not too sure of where to put it. You feel if you use a brush like this, then you're gonna be buffing, okay? In fact, I'm just gonna place it like right on the apples of the cheeks. And then if you want to see the highlight in action, this is if you want a very, very light placement of highlight. But even that, I think perfectly applied it. This is a great fan brush. It's deceptive because when you look at it online, fam, I'm not gonna lie, it looks underwhelming. It does. After you wash it, it just blooms perfectly. And I just think it's just a more effective tool than how it looks online. Now, if we were to go on the opposite side of the spectrum and pick up a lighter tone blush, then I would use a heftier brush to pick up more product, yeah? Because this is way lighter than Vivid Azalea, but because this brush is more dense, it will pick up more product and lay down a little more color. So here we have more of that punchy color from Vivid Azalea. We have a softer hue here from the Coral Rose. And we'll use the same fan brush to now do the highlight from this duo. I love this. This highlighter brush is fun. Look how beautifully that placed the highlight. You just go just right where you need it. Ooh, and it applies, well, maybe a little too much. I applied a little too much highlighter on the forehead. No worries, just take your powder brush and whisk that away. And I like to take the big powder brush too and just buff the edges of that application. For a more concentrated placement of highlight, why don't we go over to one of the shadow brushes, eh? The P03, which is the bigger eyeshadow brush. This retails for $44 like the fan brush. From Dior's Rose Gold, let's take like this one right and just pop it right here on the center. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Multitasking hero brushes. Absolutely gorgeous. This is the one with this opalescent finish that has that pink shift. And if we were to put it on this side, maybe a little lower. Ooh, see that? This brush is just big enough for highlight. And also, I would suspect that it's great to also set the under eyes. So I will take this finishing powder from the Hourglass palette and just tap where I needed to go. So soft, right here, right here. You could also go back to the bronzer or contour that you use if you wanted more of a concentrated placement of color. You use the bigger eyeshadow brush just down the bridges of the nose. You wanted to shape the tip of the nose, you could do a little something like that. I want to use this brush for like a one and done type of a deal. So let's, let me see. I'm heading into the Suku. Ooh, I know. I'm gonna go in with 136, one of their holiday quads. Take this beautiful pink satin shade. P05 right over the lid. This is your quintessential one and done brush. It's flat enough to pick up the product, but fluffy enough to turn on its side and blur those edges. So soft, smoothing on the skin. Just look at that. If we were to take this color with the same brush, just kind of whip it along the edges, and that also blurs it. Now the smaller eyeshadow brush, this is the P04. This retails for $37. I would probably take the darker color first. This is a special size because you could use this to tap the darker color on the outer portion of your lid on the tip or place it more on the actual brush head, and that brings in some nice color, but it still looks soft and is blending. Or we could just take it all over the lid. So if we want to just take that, tap it down so it's a much smaller brush, maybe more appropriate for a smaller eye that the P05 will be too big for. Brush head is smaller, but the design is the same. So I could turn it on its side, whisk the edges, and they'll just look beautifully blurred. Look at that. And tap on the portions of the lid that you want more coverage. This is a perfect one and done shadow brush design. This and the P05. And we'll take that same brush with the same shadow under the lash line, just connect it to the top here. And again, use beautifully soft circular motions. This brush is incredibly soft. Wow. And it just fits in different portions of the eye. Inner part of the eye, covers the lid well, blends out the crease well. Like, don't be fooled. Just because this looks like a fluffy shader, you see how it tapers midway. So the flexible tip allows for that blend here without having to be like a traditionally sized design blender brush, right? Although it doesn't look like this, it can still do what that does. You know what I'm saying? Which I think also ideal for smaller eyes who are looking for that brush that can still apply product but could still blend too. Let me take this shiny shade, the smaller eyeshadow brush, but now on the inner part of the eye, and just kind of overlap that matte with that shimmy shade. Hopping back over to this eye, going back with this fuchsia satin shade and hitting the lower lash line with a smaller eyeshadow brush. P04, excuse me, it has a name, Alicia. Super soft in the lash line. If you have sensitive lash lines, sensitive eyes in general, you gonna be fine. Taking the P05 and just further blending the edges here. Taking that same pink shimmy shade on this inner corner. And again, small enough to hit the inner corner to place your highlight shade there. All right, not too bad. It's getting really dark outside, so I'm like trying to hurry up. So here's the finished look using the Koyudo Premium Collection. I hope this was comprehensive in allowing you to see each brush in action and to figure out if you could use the whole set or maybe one or two brushes from the collection. So for instance, you could use this to apply your powder foundation Or of course you could use this to apply your loose powder. So if I were to go in with my Suka loose powder, I could use that to set my foundation. If you like a bigger bronzer brush, then you could use that to apply your bronzer. You could probably use this also to tap on some blush. I would say a blush on the lighter color for your skin tone, not something like Vivid Azalea or super pigmented that you need a lighter hand for. You could also use the P02 to apply your loose powder. It might take you longer because the P01, as you see, covers more surface area at once, so you'll just get the job done quicker. But P02, bronzer, as you saw, contour, I would still put it here on the edge of the brush, nudge it into the hollows of your cheeks, tap on your blush. You could also apply blush on the hollows of your cheeks. My mistake, I kept calling this the P05. It's the P03. As you saw, we could use the P03 to set our concealer with loose powder, pressed powder, but you could get in there with the P02. It's a little big, but you can make it happen. Or some people actually like to set their primer or concealer on the lid, so they just take a bigger brush and tap on the lid and under eye all at the same time. This brush is perfect for that task. I gotta say, this fan brush surprised me. It did. I just loved how it applied Vivid Azalea and just like a brighter blush that you need a lighter hand with, but you found that all the brushes that you use just still put on too much product. I love a good fan brush for highlight. I feel like fan brushes are no longer popular, but such a great way to just get that perfect placement of highlight on the cheekbones. And you could also use it to buff. It's so light, airy, and fluffy that it won't disturb any of your makeup. Now, if you're into super elaborate eye looks, then sure, these two will not be enough. But if you're into one and done shadow looks like the one I did here, the matte all over the lid, lower lash line, crease, and the sparkly lid on the inner corner with just one brush, I mean, fantastic. Super soft on the skin, especially here. I mean, like silk. Thin enough to get right under the lash line, but still fluffy to have that beautiful diffusement of color under the lash line if you like that lower lash line haze. If you want, fam, I'll be more than happy to come on here, maybe on a live or what have you, so I can answer more of your questions and to do more comparisons, because the light is leaving me. I started recording way too late, but I wanted to get this video up so you can have an idea of the Koyudo Premium Collection if you had your eye on it, if you were unsure of the brush sizes or unsure if you would like a shorter handle. I don't have anything like this in my collection. The shorter handle I really like. I could get used to this. Let me know what's on your Fude Beauty wish list, and until then, fam, that is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I'll see you on here again with another review, tutorial, brush extravaganza video, monthly favorites, or nightly life chit chat. Take care, and I will see you again soon.